Why People Talk Past Each Other, from the series Conversations That Should Have Worked by the Mercer Journal. How did we even end up arguing about this? Most people have asked some version of that question. Not during the conversation, after. Usually when things have cooled down, usually when both people are confused. The strange part is that many of these conversations do not begin badly. No one storms in angry. No one announces they are looking for a fight. The exchange often begins normally, a question, a concern, an attempt to solve something. And yet, somewhere along the way, the conversation stops feeling shared. Not all at once, but quietly, almost invisibly. Also strangely is that the conversation often never stops. Nobody walks away. Nobody says, "We are no longer understanding each other." The words continue, the replies continue, the discussion continues. The conversation continued. Shared understanding did not. Still talking. Most people carry an assumption they rarely notice. If we are still talking, we are talking about the same thing. That assumption sometimes works, but often enough, it does not. Someone nods. Someone says, "Yeah, okay." The conversation moves forward. Nothing appears broken. Then days later, "That's not what I thought we agreed on," or "That's not what I meant," or the quieter version, "That's not what I thought this conversation was about." Continuing a conversation is not evidence that the conversation is still shared. That sounds obvious once said plainly, but most people do not notice how much they rely on the opposite assumption. We assume that because the words are still moving, understanding is moving with them. Sometimes it is, sometimes it quietly stopped several minutes ago. Same words, different conversation. Imagine two people discussing a problem. One person wants a solution. "Okay, what do we do now?" The other person wants understanding. "You still don't understand why I'm upset." Both leave frustrated. Both feel ignored. Both believe the other person changed the subject. Neither realizes they may have been answering different questions the entire time. Or take something smaller. One person says, "Are we still on for tomorrow?" A practical question, simple enough. But the other person hears something else. "Why are you checking? Do you think I'm unreliable?" "Just making sure. I already said I'd be there." Now the first person hears irritation, the second person hears doubt. Same words, different conversation. This is why people sometimes leave ordinary exchanges with surprisingly different stories about what happened. One person thinks, "We solved it." The other thinks, "We never actually talked about the real issue," or they've got defensive for no reason. Meanwhile, the other person walks away thinking, "Nothing I said landed." The misunderstanding stays invisible because the conversation never stopped. The pattern underneath. The difficult part is not that this happens once. It is that it repeats. At work, at home, with spouses, co-workers, friends. Different topics, same confusion, different settings. Same feeling. How did we get here again? The normal explanation is usually situational. Wrong timing, stress, poor wording, bad mood. Sometimes those explanations are right, but after enough repetition, another possibility begins to present itself. Maybe certain conversations do not fail randomly. Maybe there are recurring shapes to misunderstanding. Maybe people repeatedly drift into different conversations while believing they are still sharing the same one. At some point, repetition starts asking for an explanation. Because if the same kinds of failures keep appearing in different places with different people and under different circumstances, then randomness begins to feel like a weaker explanation, which raises a difficult possibility. Maybe we are missing a variable we were never taught to look for. This is part 7 of the ongoing series, Conversations That Should Have Worked, leading up to the 9 modes. If you would like to follow the conversation, feel free to subscribe, and thanks for listening.